Hello, John. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Hello, Sarah.
So you do many different things, but I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself so that all the important stuff comes out. What do you do? And tell us about your book as well that you've written.
Sure. I do two things. So one of the things is with a software engineering hat on, I make clinical guidelines applications for hospitals. So this is helping junior doctors know how to handle common situations inside hospitals. It's very much a safety critical communication role that hospitals have. But what I'm also doing is attempting to communicate to small business owners skills in talking to people, which is again why I wrote my book. Because how that came about is that I'm naturally an introvert and haven't had, or I have not been naturally great at. Some people, it comes very easily to them to talk to people. For me, that wasn't me, and all these things had to be learned skills. And so I went through trying to start up businesses and going badly, and I realized it was because of reasons about not talking to my clients well enough that I went to address them. Do you mind if I talk about that now? I'll just tell you that story.
Sure. I was going to say that is a topic that we definitely identify with as translators. I'm going to speak for everyone. Many of us would classify ourselves, me especially, as an introvert, and it is having those conversations with clients is crucial, but it's seen more as a necessary evil, I think, and we would avoid it if possible.
And that's it. And I did avoid it for reasons I think possibly people will understand. Right. So I had a very successful career doing many things in the corporate world, in investment banks, doing risk management, and I was leading teams, earning good money, being fantastic. But I actually want to do something important, right? Rather than say rich people millions, and also want to spend more time with my kids. I actually wanted to do some kind of job that allowed me to actually spend time and be involved in my kids' lives rather than just paying someone to look after them. So I had the opportunity, as my kids were struggling with piano lessons, I saw an opportunity to do a piano training app, something to help kids go through the challenges of learning to play pieces on the piano. And so I set up a business doing that. And the thing I made was wonderful. It was technically excellent. It was easy to use, and it did all the things that you would expect in terms of that I said it would do. It was like the easiest and fastest way to learn pieces on the piano in a really engaging way where you actually learn a lot of skills. Like one of the emails I got back was saying, oh, it's like learning on steroids. Right? But I spent 4 years on this. I spent all of the money we had, and it failed. Right? And it failed not because the product wasn't good enough or that I didn't work hard, but because it wasn't right for the audience I was going to. And as it failed, I realized I could have known that before I started if only I'd talked to people. If I would have just talked to them and find out, what they want and what they didn't want, I could have known I was chasing the wrong audience at the start. I didn't have to torture myself for 4 years to get there. Oh, and curiously, this point in my life was exactly the same point where I met Chris Durbin, who I think is on your list. We did a course together, and part of that on that course helped me with kind of the revelation that I was not in the same place my audience. But then I realized, okay, so I want to move on from that. Why didn't I talk to my clients then? It's straightforward because I believed that talking to clients or potential clients was pitching, right? Which is that you do all the talking and you tell them how amazing you are and your stuff. And they're all so amazed that after that one conversation, they'll buy from you right there and then and sign on the dotted line.
Of course, people consider sales to be like, we don't want to do it because it's pushy, it's sleazy, it's like,
and that made me just horribly uncomfortable, right? And the thing is, I had school-age kids who were learning piano, and therefore I knew lots of other parents of school-age kids who were learning the piano. I didn't talk to any of them because I was too scared. I didn't want to sound like salesy or pushy to friends of mine, to people I cared about. But when I was in a research mode. So I talked to lots of experienced piano teachers and things about, how this all works. And that was easy because I wasn't selling to them. I was just trying to learn everything they knew about to do. And that those conversations were easy. So anyway, so I wasted 4 years of my life and all my money. Well,
I didn't waste them.
No, indeed. But yeah, did. Open new paths. I'm very sweet. And then I went through various journeys, and I've gone through startup accelerators, and there's a way that I've got to my successful product now, and things. I had to learn the skills I'm going to talk about on this call, and I really had to address three myths in my own head. One of which is that it's hard to get people on the call. It's actually very straightforward. The big one is actually that you need to pitch. No, right? When you're talking to someone, it's really about selfless listening. It is about just trying to let them open up on what's important to them. And then there's also that if you're doing one-on-one work with clients, it's that proposals are big and complicated. They actually can be quite straightforward and easy. So that's what I'll talk about today, I think. Yes. Now, I'll fast forward to a year ago, right? So I'm currently delivering a really big piece of work for a hospital client. And how did I get that piece of work? Just out of the blue. Well, I'd worked with this client before. And kind of out of the blue, I said, oh, can we just catch up? I'd like to find out where you're at. And so, yeah, no problem. It's great. And we just got on the call. And on that call, I just asked them, what was going on? What are some of the challenges they've got in their business, and got them to just explain details of what was going on and all the details and various things.
So is the client, the hospital client that you've been creating apps for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yes, that's it. So just to rang up my contact there, and they were delighted I had rang them, that I'd reached out, and then proceeded to tell me everything. Like really everything. They told me exactly what was going on, what was going on in the business, what some people wanted was different, what some other people wanted, and how it was all tying together, and the thing that they now got this big pressure with this new system coming in that was going to cause problems, and that they had this great safety push because of there'd been another never event at the hospital, and there's now something going on to find out how to make sure no more never events happen. And they reckon that it was all about poor guidelines. And I just got them to talk. And then at the end of the conversation, I said, do you mind if I think I can help with that stuff. Would you mind if I put, some ideas in a proposal? And they said, oh, yes, that'd be great. And so I sent them a very short proposal. Basically starting with, it's lovely to chat to you. Then I did a situation appraisal, which is I said what he had told me in good language. Here's how you've said what's going on in your business and what you care about and what the challenges are right now. Then I said how I could help in terms of not what I would do, but the outcomes in their business I could give them, a bit related to the things they'd done. And then I gave them, three options, a small, medium, and large, of ways I could help in terms of the outcomes they would get from it. And I said almost nothing about what I would build. Right? I said,
because they're not so interested in that. They want the actual results that you can achieve for them first.
Well, for all of us people who do businesses, the clients never actually want what we're doing. No one actually wants software. No one actually wants translation. They want the results that those things can give them. And so that's what I was offering. And then I did the straightforward, T&Cs of it's a fixed price, blah, blah, thing stuff. You have to pay me up front, which you think people will be scared about, but they're not. And the reply almost straight away came back from the client that, wow, that's an amazing summary of our situation. And yeah. And of course, I feel slightly guilty because all I've done is write down what he has told me. Right?
It doesn't have to be hard, does it? If she told you everything, then.
And I wrote it down. And then, so I've got this huge piece of business, which is very handy and it's very good for me. And I've done these calls with a number of people. And of course, it doesn't always lead into new business. But the interesting is that almost every single time I do this, I get thanked for taking an interest. They say, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for calling me. and taking an interest. They don't feel it's an imposition to talk to me.
Yeah, because a lot of us will hold ourselves back from reaching out to somebody because we think, oh, they're busy, they won't want to spend the time. But actually they do, because you can help them achieve what they want to achieve, and they're happy to talk to somebody who could potentially help them.
Yes, and there's some very interesting psychology here too, which is that most people don't listen, right? Almost every conversation you have during the day is someone waiting for their turn to talk or trying to make a point, right? And this can be particularly bad in business. Particularly high-level people in business can actually be relatively lonely in terms of they don't have anyone to talk to, that about what they do, which is that if they're talking to other people, their colleagues, they have to be putting on a facade, or everyone's trying to get something from them or convince them of a thing, or you have to be no nonsense and just talk about what you want. So so most people in businesses don't actually have a good person to talk to who's not about their business. And people really quite enjoy, there's a lot of freedom that someone in business finds if they can talk about their business to someone who's not a colleague.
There's no pressure to be a certain way or to think, oh, this is going to go back to that person.
Yeah, you just don't have to worry about it at all. It's actually, I have a friend who does this. I'm an introvert, she's an extrovert, and she does executive recruitment. And so she's talking to people all the time. And she says that everyone wants a work wife. They want someone they can just talk to about what they do.
Yeah, I want one of those. I mean, that's why we're in different groups of people, like small business owners and things like that. And that's why that's so valuable when you're a freelancer. But I've definitely had the experience when I've been at conferences, and I like chemical coatings conference, and somebody has said, oh, what do you do? And I say, I'm a translator. And they're like, oh, somebody from outside the industry. And then they start telling me stuff like how they're finding this really difficult because their company has sent them and it's not at beginner level, and they don't know what to do, that native speakers speak too fast in their company and they're really frustrated with them, and what can they do about it? And all this stuff comes out and I'm like, I don't know what I asked, but but I think it's like you say, they've got these things to say and they've got nobody to tell because they think it will reflect badly on them if they share this information. But if you're not anything to do with their business, all of a sudden you can be kind of receptacle for all the information they want to share.
Indeed, and they will enjoy it. It will be good for them, and it's really good at relationship building. So we could talk more about how to actually get in a call, but largely it's just ask, right? You just ask to catch up. Or, I know for me often, if I'm doing what I call discovery calls, if I want to ring up someone just to try to discover what's going on, is there a business opportunity here? Not, I will actually just say some kind of email on, well, I'll only email someone I already know somehow, have a warm lead I've been introduced to or something. I'll never just email someone out of the blue that doesn't know me from Adam. But if it's someone that we have some relation to, I'll say, oh, yeah, you know me because, oh yeah, remember we met at that conference, or I've been introduced by Bob. And then I'll say, oh, I'm trying to help in this area. You explain some kind of vision of what you're trying to do. I'm trying to make this thing easier. I'm trying to solve problems for these kinds of people. You're in this industry and various things. You could really help me understand what's going on or doing things. Have you got time for a chat? Is why I do discovery calls. I think if you're doing it for clients, I think it is largely it's fundamentally just ask and make it clear that you're not about to try and sell at them.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't got an existing relationship with somebody, and say you've had a quick conversation via LinkedIn, you've connected with them and they're kind of interested in what you do, and they just want, please send me the details of your service to this email. Would you at that point ask for a conversation, because potentially you need a little bit more information, but you again don't want to come across as, oh, we're just pitching in the DMs? Like, you want to take it to email probably first.
Yes. I paused to think, but handle that exact case, because there's a couple of things going on there, which is that if someone just says, I think, oh, send me the details of your thing, right? they're effectively treating you like a machine, which doesn't really work. And I experience this too when I doing software development, which is that people who don't know about software development will reach out and they want to give me a kind of fuzzy description of the kind of thing it might have to do, and then say, how long will it take? How much will it cost?
Yeah,
right?
Sounds familiar.
And that's impossible, right? That's not how these things work. But I understand why they do it, because they too think they have to play a game, which is they think that they have to pretend that they know exactly what they want and that they are an expert and are this high status individual getting a service. And it leads them to pretend they know more than they do. And they're really hoping that a really good price list will explain to them what they need.
Yeah.
But we need to transition that into a relationship of equals, which is you're skilled in your thing, I'm skilled in my thing. There may be a way we can work together. If there is, let's do that. But I'm not a machine. You do not put in coins and pull a handle and I produce a thing. That's not how this works. So then to your case, that's where we need to move from. So I would probably try to say, what I'm saying is, I said, all right, I need to try to say something like, all right, I need to understand what people's needs are and whether there's anything useful we can do together. There may be better people that can help you, and maybe it may not. Is it possible just getting on a quick call? I just want to understand, where you are and what kind of things that you need, and we'll see if there's any opportunities here. Which then just entirely honest, which is you kind of batted off the I'm not sending you a price list without saying I'm not sending you a price list. You're saying we have to get to know each other. Let's have a little chat. Yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour. Easy peasy. Just we're going to chat about what you want. Is how I would start that, because then because after all, that's what we want to do in the actual call, is we're actually going to find out what do they really want.
Have you got any tips for that?
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
There's only so much detail I can go into now.
Sure.
But it's, first of all, I think we need to move away from the mindset of pitching, of selling our services, and instead go into almost counseling. It's trying to discover where they're at and what's important to them and the challenges they're facing, and also concerns they have, because they've had good and bad experiences with other people like you.
Yeah. And
finding those out is really, really useful. So, right. So first of all, let's talk. I'm going to get you that coffee in a minute. But first of all, let's talk about selfless listening. So the idea being is that imagine a counselor. If you're speaking to a professional counselor, they do talk to you, but they talk to you to help you to open up. They don't talk to you to talk about themselves, right? They support you telling your story and feeling heard. And that's what we want to try and do in these calls, is we want to support the person we're talking to talk about valuable things, both things that are valuable to them and are valuable to us. And we want them to feel heard about it, and that was worth their time. And yes, that's what we're going to do. And I have a structure to it, which I'm showing in the book. But if you share the graphics, Sarah, I will talk through it. Right. So this is the idea here, is that this is just a general structure to handle people's motivations for doing anything, really, which is it anytime we're looking, say, to do business with someone, we're asking them to make a change. We're asking them to make a change from the way they currently do something to a new way of doing something, which is generally working with someone else. So it's either working with someone else to working with you, or ignoring a problem or handling it some other way to working with you. And so that can kind of structure how we talk to them, because there's these like four main parts of that, which we call the push, pull, concerns, and inertia. So the push is about pain, which is that there's a problem in how things currently are. right? There's something which is causing them pain that they want to get solved. Then there's also, which is they're attracted or pulled to a better future. They see some beautiful thing in the horizon, or anything which would makes life so much easier. So it's both, you want to escape from the pain and move towards a better future. Those are things that help people to move to a new way of doing things. What prevents people changing is that they have concerns and anxieties. And everyone has like 1,000 concerns and anxieties about anything. So I get some examples here, like, which is, that is this going to be hard to do? Will it be expensive? What will my boss think? On anything, or, in our case, it could be, well, like, I had a really negative experience with that last translation company, or things, and they got all these things in their heads, which they're worried about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can only half guess about. They have to tell us. We have to find out what those are. And the other thing is that inertia, or really, do they care? Right? Which is, there's a current way they do things. How stuck are they in that? And, because it could be a range of things, because it could be that if it's working well for them, it's fine. And the effort of changing isn't, even if it's a change would be something better, it's just not worth the effort. And also corporate organizations, various things might cause things. It's just, if you've got to get 10 levels of management approval to sign off anything, then that's also the inertia of that prevents change. We want to try and find these things out because they help. They help us because they tell us, really, could there be business here or not, and if there could be, what do I need to offer, and what do I need to address? Because there's marketing 101, which is offer them a better future, empathize with them by describing their pain, and address their concerns and anxieties. And boy, we're not actually, in no way, shape, or form, we're going to be artificial in all of this, because we're going to ask these questions, and we're going to explain at the end this model to them. So what I do with this is, I have a whole range of questions, but we won't go through them at all. But generally, you want to a straightforward one. So let's start the conversation first, right? You've entered in, you got on a call with someone, and you want to get them into storytelling mode. Right? You want them to start telling you about themselves. And so a great way to that, I find, is effectively small talk. But I'll often pre-prepare a question about themselves, which was, how did you start to work here? Or what got you into the chemical industry? That type of thing. As something that there's, me taking an interest in them that they can only answer by telling me a story. All right.
That's a good.
So that's just a nice intro. So that's just a lovely intro, just to warm everyone up to just having a friendly conversation. And it's always fascinating, right? Because you have expressed an interest in them, and I do care. Right? When someone tells me about their story of how they got to work here, how they got into the industry, that's really good stuff. I go, wow, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing. And depending how we got on the call, I will probably explain, that I'm just here to discover, what's going on, and if there's any way we can work together. So I'm just going to ask you some questions around that. Okay. So I'm just making it clear that I'm not selling on this call. And I'll probably also say the time limit, which is all right. And I've booked 30 minutes for this call, and just because one often concerns in someone's head is that you're going to try to sell to them, and you're going to take up a lot of their time. And so we can address those concerns straightforward, saying, all right, so it's a 30-minute call, and I'm just going to ask questions about you. Now, Millie, we are going to segue into selling, but that we're going to do that honestly towards the end. So then I'll just go through. In the book, there's a whole pile of questions in there, and you can use different cases. But broadly speaking, to go through that quadrant, it would be what some of your main challenges you're facing right now. That's a general one, but of course, if you know your clients, you might know stuff. Oh, right, you just merged with other companies. How's that going? You might have a route to ask them about the challenges they are facing. And that's using a couple of different entry points. And then we're into then listening mode. So we want to help people elaborate. And so good ways for doing that is just asking how and what questions. Oh, so how did that come about? And what happens after that? And just what questions can you ask with how or what in them? And get people to describe. And if people are being slightly not quite reticent, but if they're not really going to detail, if they're just telling you, if they're not quite comfortable yet, I'd often get them to actually to go into detail. Oh, so explain to me exactly how that happens. So for instance, I know when I, with a client with a maternity hospital I did previously, had to find out how the midwives worked with the senior doctors. And when I on those calls, so explain to me exactly how one of these calls work. So what's the situation? So what are they doing? And then when do they make the call? And then get them to walk me through the entire process of a thing happening. Because also that is because people will tell, anytime someone tells you an opinion of this should happen, that shouldn't happen, you can't necessarily entirely trust that. But whereas if someone actually tells you the story of what actually happens, that is incredibly honest. And then you can make your own mind up of where the challenges are.
Yeah, because it might not be the thing that they're asking for that they actually need. You could say, oh, actually, I could do that, but this isn't going to solve this problem that you've just told me about. So perhaps we can incorporate this and it's a slightly bigger project or a different project than they originally thought. Or perhaps they don't actually need a translation, for example. Perhaps they need, I don't know, some kind of aid to help them on an ongoing basis rather than this one particular project.
Exactly, which you can probably see because they've tried to come in trying to buy something off the shelf, whereas you are really looking to support them with their current problem, which may have translation as a solution, but may not. And so, we're getting them to talk through that. And the classic thing to work on and to not be scared of is emotions, right? Which is if someone says that something is the worst part of the day, or it's disgusting, or it's really painful, it causes me anxiety, it's stressful. It's often natural if we're not entirely comfortable with these things to kind of gloss over that and move on to something else quickly. But anything which causes an emotional response or the use of emotional language from the person you're talking to is exactly the thing you need to find out about, right? Yeah. Which is, so therefore, or that's very stressful. Then dig into the thing that is stressful. Why is that the worst part of your day? Why does that cause you anxiety? Or why does that make you really happy? Why were you so happy when that thing, there's the thing which is, these are getting to the real issues and the real motivations of someone, because they're always looking for a pain to be removed, and the pain is often an emotional one. Really, we don't say it in business, but really it is. There's something is stressful and there, and we want to be happy, right?
Yeah.
And through all of that, then also you should kind of generally be able to discern the better place they're trying to get to through them describing the problems with their current situation. Though there are some ways that you can ask about the better future, which is after they've talked about their pain for a while. You could ask a question like, if you could wave a magic wand, you didn't have to worry about money or if it could happen or anything, how would this be fixed? How would this be done? Right. And then they just get to tell you about their magical unicorn future, right? Which if they do tell you, is wonderful, because you go, right, the essence.
Those details, yeah.
Like again, this client with the maternity hospital, which I described in the book, it was, a midwife says, all I want is for everyone involved with this patient to know what's currently going on. Bang, right? So these people were talking about this risk scoring system and blah blah thing stuff, right? What this thing needed to do was have everyone involved know what was happening. That was
it's like the mission of the project. So every time you're trying to make a decision about what to do next, like go back to that one sentence and go, does it answer this? And if it doesn't, make the decision, move on, do it slightly differently.
Yep, indeed. Yeah, because that's the core. And that, yes, we'll get into the pros in a minute. I'll say how you use these things. So then we get into we've got to flush out about their concerns and anxieties primarily. Now, first of all, this is a great opportunity because everyone loves to complain, but social pressure, what we've learned over time, is we know that no one likes being complained to or hearing everyone complain, right? So we all learn to kind of bottle it up, even though we really, really like to complain about things. So you have the opportunity to give someone permission to. Actually, we're going to tie in first to the habit quiz. So if they have a problem, you can ask them, what have they already tried to do to fix it? And that's very useful because that then gives you a starting point to talk about something. So we skipped from concern anxieties to habit, but I'll come back to concern and anxiety. So the main thing for me, when I do product development, my main question for asking about habit is, what have you already tried to fix this? Mm-hmm. Which really tells you if they will take action or not. Because I've had lots of examples of people telling me that something is incredibly painful, so terrible, I wish it could be fixed. And then you ask them, what are they currently doing? And nothing. Like, as in, they've not even Googled if there's a thing that could help them. So to give you, I'll give you a specific example because that won't stick in someone's head, but stories will. So again, me working in the medical space, I was exploring an idea of a training aid called an otoscope simulator. So an otoscope is the thing that doctors use to look in your ears. And the hard part of those is that not really looking in the ears, but actually diagnosing what you see. That's a really tricky bit. And you can only largely do it through experience because you get this weird porthole view that you have to look around to kind of see the picture.
Tiny little thing. I've had, from a patient's view, I've had people use one on me, and I know that GPs much prefer not to do that and pass it straight on to a consultant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. So I was working with someone who was a consultant, who worked in a hospital specializing in this, and he was writing, look, we were taught this thing at university. We did a week on it, right? And then you have to do stuff. Unless you actually work in the specialized department in the hospital where you're seeing this all the time, you don't know how to diagnose these ear conditions. But it's actually relatively straightforward. And so we did a thing. We did a quick mock-up of something we could work on a phone to train you in these things. And at that point, my 10-year-old son, in 10 minutes, learned to diagnose the top 20 ear conditions. Right? Wow. It was really good. So awesome, right? It's got this great product, and there's this problem here. So let the money roll in. But first of all, let's talk to who we think might be our potential clients. Right? Who's going to be our potential clients? Well, it's GPs, it's the family doctors. They have to use these things day in, day out, and we think they're poorly trained and aren't very good at it. And so we rang lots of GPs. And we said to them, oh, tell me your experience about diagnosing ear conditions. They said, oh, God, Art, how good are you using an otoscope? I said, oh, terrible. Go do it all day. And yeah, it's just, I really don't have the skills on it, all the various things. I just bounced everyone to the consultants anytime they do. Yes, I know I could probably, if I could spot what it was, I could probably just, prescribe some antibiotics or things, and that would be easily solved, or I could tell them it's not a problem or it's a serious problem. But I don't know, so I just have to pass it on. Oh, wow, right, okay. So this is big and important. This causes them a lot of pain in the day. So yes, what are you currently doing to solve it? Nothing. Right? And the way is because nothing, because it didn't actually matter to them, because they could just bounce it to consultants. So there actually was very little benefit to them in solving this problem.
Yeah.
I guess it would give them better service to their clients, the patients they see, but endpoint also didn't really matter.
Yeah, to them, there are other things to focus on.
Indeed. And so that's an example of that someone can say something's really big pain, but probably aren't going to take any action. But then that leads into, so what have you already done? Because when people are taking action, when people are trying to do things, because of course the people that you really want are people who are trying to solve the problem right now and aren't happy with how it's working.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where you can get brilliant feedback before you've done anything. Because if you ask how good was my service to someone who has used your service, they will always be polite. They'll always try to say nice things, and they might give some mild feedback, but they don't really tell you the truth, because that's not how people work. But remember, people like to complain, but they'll talk about other people. So it's an example, which is when I did a course as part of producing my book. Mm. And I got a few people to sign up for my book. And when I got them to sign up, so I'd sign for my course, sorry. And I can have a little call, have a little chat, understand where you're at and what kind of, where you're at and what kind of help you're looking for. And then I asked you, oh, what online courses have you done before? And what did you like and dislike about them? And they told me just all the things they liked and disliked about different online courses. And they could really rant about that terrible thing they did in various things in the past, and all these details about why it was awful and all these various things, and what were the best ones. Oh, the one that did this, that was amazing. They had great examples and things, and the way they went through. Oh, wow, you love that too. And that's the general thing, which is people talk freely about other people's stuff which is not actually personal between you two. But whatever they loved or hated about something like yours is what they will love and hate about your stuff. So if you can get them to talk about their good and bad experiences with other translators or other translation experiences or whatever it is that you do, right? And you just help them open up and talk about it and do things about what was bad about it and what was good about it, and just help them share and get off their chest. Remember all of that, because that's exactly what they will love and hate about your service. Mm. And also in the
brilliant question, because you can always ask, what have you done? Have you worked with a translation service before? What did you like and not like? That's a really good question to ask. So thanks for that.
That's cool. And of course, you find that goes into, again, the marketing message of addressing concerns. You have to address concerns. But anyway, you really learned about these people. So that's cool, right? So we've just gone through, these main areas of this is how we have a valuable conversation with someone. We really help them share what's going on with them and how it impacts them. And hopefully they've told us lots of stories about things and given us lots of examples. We want examples. We want the real situation. And we have to wind up, and we might want to segue into a proposal of work. Mm-hmm. So first step, and this is one that truly blows people away, is to summarize back to them what they just told you. And I will do it like this. I'll say, now that was really interesting. You told me lots of great things. Do you mind if I just repeat back to you the main points you told me? And if I've got anything wrong, could you just interrupt me and tell me if I haven't got it quite right? And then I'll go through that quadrant. I said, right, so here's the pain that you're dealing with, that this new thing's coming in, which is causing some issues and all this various stuff and things. And you're really hoping it could be easy like other things, but you don't want to be a pain like those red folders were a pain and all these various things. This is an important thing to do right now because this has got to be delivered by July and the new system's coming in or whatever. And you just go through and also you summarize their stories as you do this. All right. I've done this all at the end of call. So it has had the person I'm talking to in one case on the verge of tears, in terms of because you talk to these big important people, but what I said at the beginning is that people being listened to properly is very rare, right? And so you've been relatively quiet or asking questions that's going on. You kind of only talked to help them talk. So when you can summarize what they've said, of course, when you summarize it, you always tend to do it better than they explained it, as in you get to the heart of it.
Yeah, and they've got outside perspective.
Yeah. So it shows that you care, and it's really, really impressive. And is very rarely experienced by people, is that they've had this real conversation where people have told what's going on, and someone has listened and understands. Right? So also in this point, you just got, so you've learned an amazing amount of things, but you've also built a really strong relationship with the person you were just talking to, that you are an honest person who cares about them and the situation they are in, just by listening to them and being able to summarize back to them what they said. It's also why I don't believe this is fake, because though we ask these various questions, I tell them it right back at the end, everything that they've told me. And if you get it wrong, that's also hopefully I get it right. But if they tell me, like this, it's okay to tell me if I got it wrong and to interrupt me and tell me if I got it wrong, because if I have got it wrong, that's a win too. because then they'll tell me what the truth of a situation I had misunderstood something.
Yeah, and this is really useful as well, because as translators, we're typically going to be speaking in our second language. So it's beneficial if we are not talking as much, if we're not feeling as confident as we would be in our native language. We're just asking the questions and getting them to talk and using their language back. So they're telling us how to phrase it. And as we summarize it and ask them to correct us if we're wrong, that makes it a lot easier for us as well. So if anybody is worried about having that conversation in the second language and they're not entirely confident, just be completely open about that, and you're not having to do as much talking as you might think. You kind of aim, as you said, to get them to talk and summarize what they say, and then ask them to correct you. And if you've misunderstood anything, which might be another concern, then they can correct you, and it all makes it a lot easier from our perspective as well.
Yes. Yeah, completely. That's it. Yeah, because if you imagine it, really, that you almost can make a bank of questions and a bank of ways to ask people to tell you more information. Right? Yeah, there's only a few ways you can do this, really. So yeah, whereas the whole of a language is insanely complicated, the kind of interviewing someone and getting someone to open up actually is a fairly constrained part of a language to do. But we need to say, wait, is there a chance for business here? Could we work together, and do we want to do this? Because the mistake I made in the past and where I've moved to now, at least in this terms of like this, this client relationship business type of thing, it is that it's generally about finding out the situation they are in and offering to help, rather than pitching yourself and trying to convince them to buy your things. No, we're offering to help. And that's the thing here, which is that if I'm doing a software role, I might say, I think I might be able to help there. Do you mind if I talk for a little bit on that? And then I might then do a bit of consultancy and just explain what I understand. Or I would say, oh, that I know I can help with that. Would you, and explain the simple ways that you could help, and say, would you like me to put that into a proposal for you? Send you a proposal. To which, which answer is yes. Well, if you've already found out there's business or not, right? If they say, what do you think, could it happen or not? If it's not going to happen, just go, well, thank you very much. Been really lovely to chat to you. Bye. If you think that actually there is an opportunity here that you could really help them, and there's a chance you could win the business, then you offer to make the proposal. And then I tell you the proposal format I use, which is short and simple. Shall I go into that now?
Oh, yes, please. If you're willing to share, that would be really, really useful.
Well, first hat tip, I got this from Jonathan Stark. So he has a podcast called The Business of Authority and a website. And I learned this from him, and it works really well. And it's short and simple. So how it goes, I've done it generally by email. I described at the beginning. So I start with so I'll get this out fairly quickly. You have to get this out, within a day, really, of what you're doing. So don't overthink it. And start with the standard small talk of lovely to chat to you yesterday, blah, blah, things, stuff, right? And then we have certain sections. So section number 1, situation appraisal, right? Mm-hmm. That summary you said at the end of the call, write that down. So tell them, explain to them the situation they told you the situation they are in and why it matters. Write that down. So that's where they are at and why they care about solving something. And then the next thing then is what you are offering, which is the benefit. So for me, in terms of software, I'll tend to offer 3: a small, medium, and large option. Because one option is a ultimatum, but 3 options give people a choice. So there's the tend to be done for yourself option, which is here, I'll give you, it could be like, I'll give you the instructions on how to do this yourself, or things. Then the medium option, doing the one I actually want to do, which is here's working with me doing this business properly. And then there's the gold option, which is the every possible
bells and whistles,
bell and whistle I can think of, right?
The red carpet service, yeah.
Exactly. And then for each of those options, I would explain like the benefits to them of getting them, the benefit they will receive if they go for this, the end result to their business, and very little on what I will deliver to achieve that, which is I will deliver the thing that will provide this benefit type of thing. So I'm not going to say I'm going to write you 10,000 lines of code over. I'm going to say, or we'll have exactly these features. I'll just enough detail to set to convince them that what I will do will give you those benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the why me bit, right? Which is that as again, we're often uncomfortable to do, but
it's pretty hard to do unless you're practiced at it. Yeah.
But actually, it's important for the client. So, which is that, all right, so you have this problem in blah blah in getting English clients for your German chemical business. I have been working in translating in the German chemical industry for this number of years, and I'm great place are, and that kind of covering that type thing of which is why I'm right for the role. Right? It feels a bit uncomfortable to talk to yourself about that, but that is important.
So I suppose for me, it's more difficult. It's not necessarily hard to do it, but it's hard to do it in a non-boasty way where you kind of go into that, I have this many years of experience and I am the best person for the job because blah, 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 blah. But when you've had that conversation, you've got that relationship, I think it's easier to write as supporting evidence.
Yes, that's it really. And then the last bit of the section thing is T's and C's. That generally is, terms and conditions are, yes, pay me up front. I'm not starting work until you pay me.
Yeah.
But then to go back to because I imagine why this I think works so successfully, actually, I think there's quite important psychology in it, which is that we really buy everything off trust. We can't ever fully know what a thing we're buying we're going to get. What we're trusting that it will give us the result we're looking for, right? And that we are a trustworthy person to deliver that. So Aristotle told us about this 2,000 years ago. He called it ethos, logos, and pathos. So ethos is that you're an authority. You know what you're talking about. And logos is having a logic, about to have logical arguments. And then pathos is that you understand them and you have empathy. And that is how persuasion works. But that's how it works. I think also that's how this is going to work, which is that they need to trust us. And so when we describe their situation as they understand it, where they're at, and we describe the benefits they want, right? Then we get that level of trust, which they trust. If I understand where they're at and where they're trying to get to and why, we implicitly get the trust that we can take them from there to there, rather than me just saying, I have this product, it's right for you. What is it you do again? Which is how, lots of things can come across, because then they fundamentally don't trust you if you're just trying to sell features, thing, this is what I do, then I make them do the work of, is this right for me?
They've got to then fit into your kind of package or your box, rather than you saying, this is how my service fits around you.
Yeah, indeed. And so that's actually, we find for most people, that actually that that empathy thing is actually the main part, but there still needs to be that logical and authority bit. But they only need to be, they effectively take boxes in people's minds. So you just need to, you don't need to say absolutely everything about yourself. You just need to say enough that they go, right, they're competent, tick, right? You know, that they can just that barrier's gone from their head, and enough logical arguments, which is that when they show this to the boss to get approval, that it all makes sense. That, oh yeah, they've done that before, and that's thing, and yeah, we'll do that thing for this thing. Yeah, it's all sensible things, but those are just kind of the summary on it. I find the truly understanding them, where they are and where they want to be, is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Would you typically send anything else with that proposal, or just a proposal? So they've already met you in this scenario anyway, so you've had that conversation, they've probably already checked out your website. Would you send like a portfolio or anything, or just a proposal for now?
I have only sent the proposal before. I suppose I would play it by ear. Because it depends what you do. For start, also, I'm a big believer in not overthinking it, which is that the more you try to do, the more you'll slow yourself down and put yourself off. I think so. If you can get back to them quite quickly, lovely conversation. Here's where you're at, and here's where you want to be, and here's how I can help you, and why I'm the right person to help you. Bang, right? Just get it. The quicker you can do that, the better, right?
Yeah.
And then if they want to know more, we'll have more discussions or do more things. Yeah, let's have those discussions, do things. And also things don't come off. If this is a sales pipeline. This is a conversation working towards a sale and a contract. Yeah. They don't all come off.
Well, I could talk to you for ages. This is all really interesting, and everything you've said is going to be super useful for all the translators that I'm connected with. But if anybody wants more information, I recommend this amazing book, Be a Client Whisperer, where John's laid out typical questions that you might like to ask, and all the stories, a couple of the stories that we've talked about, you go into those in more detail, and it's just really, really useful. And where's the best place to get that? Is it Amazon?
Yeah, go for Amazon. And I also have a request, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Well, what I'm trying to work out, because if people love books, go for books. But some of the stuff often is better one-to-one. So I'm thinking about running a course or a workshop on basically on selfless listening and about the discovery calls situation. Probably a few hours. I'll probably be exercising it. And just because I'm just experimenting, well, I think, I'll do it for about, say, 47 euros, pounds, dollars, whatever your currency is. And I just know, is anyone interested?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that. I'm sure lots of people would be, because it's something that you don't really get to practice, and it feels kind of high pressure when you do your first one. So if any tips that you can get in advance, that sounds amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
So you have your list. So if you could share people, if people are interested, I will make a thing and offer it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you again for your time and all the fantastic tips. And I do highly recommend this book. I think this is really useful for us as we're working with kind of direct clients and trying to build our business, because it is really important to have those conversations, and it is something that perhaps is not in our skill set because we just want to get on with the translation. So thank you so much, John.
And thank you, Sarah.